What is going on, YouTube friends? We are back with a brand new week, brand new episode, brand new video. But if you aren't following the podcast, I'll put a link or something here. That way you can follow the podcast because that's my usual spiel. Today we were talking about the location scout tools that will help you be as successful as you can in creating a successful location scout for your next project. Could be music video, could be a narrative short, drama, even a corporate video. Because at the end of the day, location scout tools are there to help us create a more streamlined workflow, a more efficient manner of being able to know exactly what we need, what kind of fixtures we need, what kind of support we need, whether that be grip and electric, whether that be camera support, right? So let's go ahead and hop into the first of my many tools that I use for location scouts. First one is my light meter. Now you might be wondering, in 2023, why would anyone still use a light meter, right? You might be hearing podcasts of cinematographers that you follow that don't use light meters anymore. And I think everyone has their own preference, right? As far as what they like to use, what they don't like to use, and just what is more efficient for their, type of workflow and for their style. For me, light meters, I still use to this day for new locations that I haven't shot in, or for a situation where we feel that the weather may change from, say, maybe we're a month out from a shoot, and then, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it may go from sunny to cloudy, or vice versa, it might go from cloudy to sunny. So in a situation where, let's just say there's like a row of windows in the background and we have a scene where people are going to be talking in a living room, something like that, something that you would probably film very frequently, or your next coming project, I need to know exactly how hot those windows are going to get potentially, and do I have enough firepower to combat the exposure of the windows. So light meters are still helpful, and something that helped me out as far as being able to get better ratios and better consistency in my work was measuring the exposure for all my fixtures, from tube lights to Fresnels to cob lights to my light map. Everything has been metered accordingly in different scenarios. So different distance, could be 3 meters, 1 meter, 9 meters. It could be day interior, could be day exterior, could be low light, right? So being able to have more information by using a light meter has helped me tremendously in getting better ratios and also getting better consistency in my work. Next up is a small camera package. So specifically the one that I own is a Sony A7 Mark IV. Doesn't really matter what kind of camera you have, but a camera that can shoot stills in RAW or JPEG fashion is necessary in my workflow, because it allows me to be able to put a different lens on, or even the same lenses that we're going to be using in the actual project itself. When you have a camera that you can pull stills from, it'll allow you to bring it into Lightroom or Photoshop, and then you can see exactly how much dynamic range you'll need to play around with. So if you have something like a camera that can support 14 stops of dynamic range, which is pretty common in this day and age, it'll give you the opportunity to say, okay, cool, like in my highlights, I can probably hold them based upon the lighting package that we're going to have. Oh man, this area, it's going to be, pretty dark, so I need to be able to bring up those shadow areas with the setup that we have. What the fuck happened to my... And being able to tell what kind of dynamic range you're playing around with the location that you're going to be filming at, will allow you to say, okay, cool, during this time where we're shooting the scene, the highlights are going to be pretty hot. I know exactly how many fixtures we're going to have and what type of fixtures we're going to have. Oh, this area, maybe the shadows are going to be a little bit dark, a little bit crunchy. I want to be able to lift those shadows up ever so slightly. Do we have the fixtures? Do we have the tools necessary to be able to hold the full range of dynamic range that we're working with? And third tool going along with sort of camera packages is the actual camera package that you're going to be shooting with. I don't always bring the camera package, but in situations where I feel like it's not going to be too cumbersome to bring the camera package, and all I need is just the camera, monitor, lens, and a battery. That's all I really need. It'll give you more information as far as when you're in pre-production to know, okay, is this going to be too saturated? Is it going to be undersaturated? Am I going to need to be able to have different lens support, right? Are we going with a gimbal? Are we going with Movi stuff? Are we going with a jib or an overhead rig, right? And all these things you talk about during pre-production, but on the location scout, you can also pull stills from them. You bring them into Davinci Resolve, you pull some stills and say, hey guys, producer, director, this is kind of what we're working with. This is what it's going to most likely look like. The weather, may not change. It may not, it may change, it may not. But for the most part, this is sort of the look with the Rec 709, log to 709 conversion. So that way they have a better idea and a better, more confidence going into the shoot that what they're going to get is, almost pretty much ballpark there. Next up is a measuring tape. Now you might be wondering also, why the hell would anyone use a measuring tape? Well, there's certain situations where you want to be able to know exactly what the distance is going to be from, say, your key light to your subject. Maybe there's a situation where you're putting the camera in a cabinet or in a fridge. You need to know how much distance there is from where the camera is going to be placed to the opening of the door or a window, whatever the case may be. So having a measuring tape is super useful because it'll tell you exactly what the distance is going to be, whether that be inches or whether that be in feet. And next tool that I use isn't really a tool, it's more like a wardrobe thing, but it's actually a hat. There's many times when you're going to be shooting a day exterior or even a day interior, so the hat's going to protect you from, the sunlight when you're shooting outside, and also in situations where you just can't see the monitors clearly, you can use your hat as like a little, cove or cover, and that way you can see the monitor more clearly. Speaking of hats, shout out to my boys over at Project Import. You can follow them. I think they have a YouTube channel, but I know they are on Instagram. If you're a car enthusiast, import tuner, if you have anything from like a Nissan to a Toyota to a Honda, the dudes over and the family over at Project Import can take care of you guys. They are located in City of Orange in California, Southern California. But shameless plug, I love those guys. I've been going to them for like 12 years. Moving on is my iPad Air and also the Apple Pencil, along with my MacBook Air. I typically don't bring the MacBook Air, but in situations where we may be there for, a longer duration, it's always good having a MacBook Air if I need to be able to type things, if I need to get online with Chrome and things such as like, web browsing are just easier on a MacBook or a laptop than it is with a tablet. But with the iPad Air, I'm able to use one of my best apps and one of my most used pre-production apps, which is called Concepts. But how I use it is when I make lighting diagrams or overhead diagrams using Shot Designer, I can save them, upload them to my iCloud drive, which is synced to my iPad via iCloud. And then I pull those images onto my iPad and import them into Concepts. Once you're into Concepts, I have a visual representation of the overhead diagram. And as I'm talking to, say, the director or more often than not, the first AD, hey, if we need to change a couple things. And with my Apple Pencil, I can easily mark and show, visually, okay, originally the camera was going to be here. Now we can, draw a line, draw an arrow, and the camera's going to be here now. Blocking is going to change. I can use different colors to separate, actors from camera, from blocking to camera movement, things like that. So having the iPad Air and the Apple Pencil is essential for me for location scouts. Moving on to two other applications that I use for pre-production location scouts is number one is Sunseeker. If you aren't familiar with what Sunseeker is, it'll basically give you the path of the sun based upon the location that you're at. Typically, you can type in like an address and then you say, okay, what day you're going to be filming at. It'll give you the actual path of the sun in different representations. Sunseeker is helpful because you can start to plan out how your day is going to be with the first AD. If you have like exterior shots, maybe you want to shoot those earlier than day, right? Like just right after sunrise or somewhere early morning where the sun isn't too high up. If you're shooting, maybe a couple of day exterior shots, then you can start to plan, okay, in the morning we can shoot these shots outside, and then during sunset or during that time before sunset, we can start prepping and then shoot those shots during, the hour where the sun is going to be, again, too high. It's going to be a little bit lower for us. And based upon the location of the sun, we can then dictate, maybe we're going to be in the front of the house in the morning, and then in the late afternoon, we're going to be towards the rear of the house or towards the side of the house. Last application is Artemis. Again, many of you probably already use this or you may have heard of it. Artemis is a pre-production software that uses your mobile camera to be able to take pictures and also geography information. You can tell Artemis exactly what camera system you will be using, potentially what lenses you're going to be using. And then if your camera supports, wide enough lenses, you can actually change the focal length, get your different shots, ask the producer or first AD or PA to stand in. You can take a picture on your phone and then share that same picture with the pre-production workflow. So those are all the tools that I use when it comes to doing a successful location scout. If you liked the video, please leave it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as always, just so you are notified of new content coming out. Again, if you aren't following the podcast, I will have links in the description as well as in the iCard. Check out the podcast. It is there for freelance filmmakers, for owner operators. We talk everything from cinematography, breakdowns, what's new in the business, and also how to run a more successful business as far as negotiating prices. Other than that, friends, remember every day you have an opportunity to create your experience and to write and tell your own story. My name is David Lee, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
He said,